Hello, everyone. This is HKBU podcast and Starbright podcast, multi broadcasting for the first time, both for Turkish listeners and for the listeners all around the world in English. Super excited about this. It's a first time for me to do this in a different format. And I'm also excited today because I have a experience with some volunteering, a different type of volunteering lately, and I heard they might need or they're looking into spreading the word a little bit more for their volunteers recruitment. Long story short, we will talk today about Engine volunteering program, and I have with me Erin from Engine. And hi, Erin. First of all, how are you? And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am doing great. As you said, I'm the volunteer recruitment manager on staff at Engine. My name is Erin. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm really excited to share a little more about our program with you guys.
I am very excited about it as well, and I just want to dive deep right into it. What do you do in Engine, and what is Engine? Like, if you can explain it kind of like together. You are with Engine, and for example, what's the purpose for Engine to be founded? First of all, why does it exist?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Engine is a nonprofit organization changing the world one conversation at a time. Currently, the way that we are doing that is we match volunteers, English speaking volunteers, to English learners in Ukraine for online weekly conversation practice and cultural exchange. So, the organization was founded by Katerina Manoff. She is our current CEO. She was born in Ukraine but grew up in the US. And while she was mentoring a Ukrainian teenager named Elena, she realized that Elena's written English was very, very good. And when they first met over Zoom, was very surprised to find out that Elena's spoken English was significantly lower, a lower level. So that was kind of where Engine got started.
And you specifically are sort of like in charge of getting volunteers signed up in any way or something like that. Is that correct?
Correct, correct. So I'm one of a few team members here in the US. Most of our team is located in Ukraine and is Ukrainian. I focus on bringing more volunteers into the program. So we almost always need more volunteers. We've grown very rapidly over the last few years, and we continue to grow and scale the program. And so I handle everything that has to do with getting people in the door, getting more people to our program.
And we are gonna publish this episode, like I mentioned in the beginning, both to our Turkish podcast, which has a pretty good outreach, and our English podcast. Does this program accept anybody who is fluent in English to sign up, or do you have certain criterias? If people are listening now and they say this is great, I want to be a part of it, are there any limitations on who can do this or not?
Yeah, absolutely. We accept everyone who is fluent in English. So we typically recommend, if you're familiar with the um, sort of European language levels, typically
Mhm.
recommend C1 level of fluency. You do not need to be a native speaker. Many of our volunteers are not. You don't need to have a certain accent or talk in a certain way. Anyone who speaks English fluently is
Okay.
speaking correctly. So we're happy to have you in the program. The
Like
only
me,
other
with with a weird accent but fluent kind of thing.
Exactly, exactly. It's honestly really great for our students to hear the various ways that English is spoken
Mm.
around the world. That's a benefit for them as well.
So
The
that
only other,
flexibility is actually nice because it brings enrichment in your eyes or in your program's eyes. It's not more like I just want to have a British or American person. It's more like I just want to have connection with English speakers and Ukrainians. Correct?
absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
And you were saying something. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, no worries. The only other requirement for participation in the program is agreeing to sort of a values statement that says that you support Ukrainian sovereignty and do not support the current invasion of Ukraine. So that's the only other thing that we kind of require of volunteers. You need an internet connection. We're a fully remote organization, But other than that, English fluency and the internet connection, and then a commitment to our values, really anyone can join.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me because I mean, you don't want to have people sign up for this and then stir the pot and cause some problems and even more, hurting when you're trying to do something towards healing. So I totally get that. If a volunteer signs up or wants to sign up, how does the system work? I mean, I personally just started experiencing it, so I know some of the answers, but coming from you for the listeners, how easy is it or what are the steps for someone who wants to do this?
Yeah, so all of our onboarding happens in our portal. It's very well laid out. There are a lot of resources to help you through the onboarding if it's difficult for any reason, but we've also made it as easy as we can. So it's a couple steps. Basically, you're going to fill out an application where you tell us a little bit about yourself. We match our students and volunteers as peers. So you'll be matched to someone in the same age group as you. We match minors to minors and adults to adults. And we try to match even within smaller age groups, try to match adults with, peers. We also will ask you about your interests, your availability, your preferences for your match in terms of their speaking level, all those kinds of things that you can tell us that help us match you directly with the student who's going to be a good fit for you. And so that's the first step. Then you'll have a brief interview with our team. All of our students and our
Mhm.
volunteers have just a 15-minute check-in with our team. We call it an interview, but it's low pressure. It's just a way for us to connect. That's where we check that your English fluency is also up to par. Once you've completed that interview, you'll go through training. Training can be live or you can watch some pre-recorded
I love that.
videos.
I love the
Yeah,
fact that you guys give that option to people. It's a good
and I
detail.
should mention as well the live interview. The interviews also can be live, or if you want to record an interview and send it in, that's also
Oh,
an
nice.
option. Yeah, so we try to keep it as accessible as possible throughout that whole process. You'll complete your training. That covers a lot of what people's typical questions about what this actually looks like are. So we talk about all kinds of things, talking with English language learners if that's something you're not familiar with, kind of
Mhm.
strategies for sessions, tips, tricks, that kind of thing. And then you sign a program agreement. And once you've completed all those steps, it usually takes 1 to 2 weeks to match you with your student. And then from there, it's really on you and your student to kind of just set it up and get going.
Yeah, you say 1 to 2 weeks, but I believe I got matched with my student maybe in a day or 2, which was, like, super, awesome. And I don't know if this is related to the next thing I was gonna bring up because, you are in need of, adults versus students or whatever you call them, speakers versus
Mhm.
students because I don't know if that was the reason why I got it so fast, but tell us about more what you're in need of because you shared with me numbers before and even in my initial interview, when they asked me what my hobbies are and I mentioned podcasting, which is a big part of my free time, the person immediately was like, "We're in need of people. Let's make a podcast," and then you got into the picture. So, tell us a little bit more about that part so that people know. Oh, and when people sign up for this, you said commitment. I want to know what the commitment is. Is it a few weeks, a month, a year? That's important too.
Yeah, great question. So the
Hmm.
commitment is 1 hour a week. We online conversation practice with your paired conversation partner, your learner, for a minimum of 3 months. Actually, many of our volunteers do stay with their student longer than that 3 months. The longest that a student or a learner can stay in the program is 1 year. Um, so many of our volunteers will stay with them for that whole year, but that's absolutely not required. 3 months is kind of where we know that the program can have the impact that we want it to have. And so that's what we ask from our volunteers. In in terms
After
of
a year, do they have to like rotate to another student if they would like to continue with the program?
Yes, technically that is true. So a lot of volunteers and students stay in touch if their student graduates from the program.
Hmm.
But just in terms of what we are able to offer and kind of how much growth you can have in the program, we usually limit it to 1 year. We also are encouraging a lot of our students who graduate from the program to consider becoming volunteers themselves. So if they've reached a level of fluency while they've been in the program, that they could then be
That's
on the
awesome.
other side of it. That's something that we've been working on this year, getting some of our students to do that.
Yeah, and just to get back to the second question that I kind of like sort of packed them in one, you are in need of people right now, and you'd like to sort of um, get attention, sort of to speak, to cover that lack of talkers or speakers right now. Correct?
Yes, so we have grown very rapidly over the last few years, and we have served, I believe, 48,000 participants. So that's volunteers and students together. But we continue to grow every single day, and we typically have about 200 adult students, learners, waiting to be matched with the volunteer every week. So even when we are matching
Wow.
students as fast as you were matched, which is happening a
Yeah.
lot, our team is working very hard. We are consistently seeing more adults who need a volunteer to be matched with. And part of the reason for that is we started out as a youth program, so we've
Oh,
slowly increased the age limit for Ukrainians who are looking to learn with us. We don't have an upper
interesting.
age limit anymore. We're open to anyone over the age of 9 in Ukraine. And for that reason, we've seen a big growth in our adult signups,
Mhm.
and we're trying to make sure that our volunteer numbers match that growth so that those folks on our wait list don't sit there for too long.
Shout out here also to all Hands and Hearts uh, volunteering program as well, because they actually had sent a promotional email uh, that I happened to read on my free time, and that's how I heard first time about Engine. And I volunteered with them, and I love them. And so I was like, if they have this suggestion, I will definitely look into this. And so it's nice to see that little collab that you guys did together. For the student, I'm sure there are amazing gains and satisfaction and benefits to do this. But for the speaker or the volunteer, to be a part of the Engine family, what are the biggest wins and gains from this, in your opinion?
Yeah, so the volunteers really do benefit from this program almost equivalently or more than our students. Some would say, even though you're not there to practice your English, you are practicing a lot of skills. So cross-cultural communication, speaking in a public setting, your ability to mentor someone. You're practicing a lot of professionalism by setting up these sessions and kind of helping your student through them. Really, the thing that we have heard from most people that they're most excited about is these mutually beneficial relationships that are truly authentic, empathetic, they're founded on friendship. So while we can't guarantee that you and your match are going to become best friends, we hear from our students a lot and from our volunteers a lot that they ended up forming really meaningful relationships. And time again, this is what seems to be really the most impactful and the most powerful part of Engine is that we're connecting those global threads across the world. We're building really meaningful relationships across geographic boundaries, and that's what a lot of our volunteer community is excited about.
Yeah, when I joined the training sessions, I chose to do the live one just because I thought I would be more able to observe what's happening with other participants. And I just loved so much to see people from all around the world in one like sitting. It was actually two rounds of training, just to let the listeners know. But in both trainings, there were people from all around the world in cities and different backgrounds. And it's so cool to see these people come together. And for the volunteer, I know you guys do once monthly or so meetings, which I unfortunately missed this month's meeting, but I'm looking forward to not just connect with students but also other volunteers through these Zoom meetings, etc. And so that is also
Mhm.
very exciting and rewarding, in my opinion, just to build that network, to meet with other people like-minded.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like that's an opportunity you don't just get walking out your door in everyday life, and it's just a nice way to connecting. I also know from your notes earlier that a lot of students, I guess, gain growth in jobs and promotion and that kind of stuff. I think it could be the same for volunteers too, because when you add these kind of activities to your CV or resume, and people see that you care and you dedicate your time and you are like invested in connecting with people instead of the opposite, I think it always helps when you yourself would like to advance in your career. I actually love my experience with my students so far. Also, shout out to her if she will listen to this episode, which I hope she will. And we have done 5 sessions so far,
Wonderful.
and I love the fact that we're both on the move as far as traveling, and she was traveling in the past, and even then, my favorite thing about her was like she was in this lounge zone of an airport and still wanted to connect with me before a flight and have this. I mean, it's just amazing. I loved the experience from the beginning. I'm not just saying it to say it, but so far it's delivering everything it promises as far as flexibility or connection or cultural exchanges. I look forward to it. It's not stressful at all if anybody is thinking about the part of preparation or something, because it's based on speaking. It's not like a 1 hour of dragging grammar session or something like that. It's not like that at all. It can
Exactly.
be if people prefer, but it doesn't have to be. um, I love that we can pinpoint what she's looking for in these sessions, and we can kind of like guide into that. So it's very flexible for anybody who would like to consider this. And I just love my experience with this so far, and I'm happy to be a part of it as well. And do you have any questions, if as we're like approaching the end of it, from my experience or just in general? I don't know, or if you want to like pinpoint maybe the website or some social media channels people maybe can follow and learn more about this before they decide. And yeah, I'll just leave you with that last part. But I also want to tell the listeners I will post all these links in the descriptions of this episode on YouTube, Instagram, and other social media platforms as well.
Wonderful. Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that you're having a great time with your student. One of my favorite things about Engine as a staff member, as a nonprofit professional, is that everyone on staff is also a volunteer or a student themselves. So I also have the opportunity to talk with my
Oh,
student
nice.
every week. And I love speaking with her. We're similar age. We both live in our hometown, which is a big city where we are, live near our families. And like you said, a big thing to keep in mind about this opportunity is that it's not language education, it is
Hmm.
language practice. And so, yeah, we my sessions have been very casual. We just talk, we just have conversations, and I really look forward to talking to her every week, giving her updates, hearing about what's going on in her life. So, it really is,
Yeah.
it's an amazing program. In terms of actually resources and such, the best way to learn about us is always going to be our website. On the website, we have a lot of resources for volunteers to kind of learn more about us. Our FAQ is very extensive, so if you have any questions, they might be answered there already. Our team is also very responsive and monitors our inbox 100% of the time. So, info@engineprogram.org is the best way to get in touch with us, and they'll make sure that your question gets answered, whether it's technical, general, just curious, whatever it is. And I'll also share the link to our info sessions with you, which are a great way to learn a little bit more about Engine from me or a different staff member before you sign up. Um, yeah, before you sign up.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Um, I just want to say to anybody who's listening to this, because we have people all around the world listening, and I love that so much about podcasting. But for anybody who is like retired or has free time, or maybe switching jobs or is on vacation, I don't know what you're doing, but if you have free time and you want to do something connecting and super rewarding, especially like emotionally rewarding, I would say go ahead and look up Engine program and sign up for it. And we need you guys, and it's super cool to be a part of this. And Erin, thank you so much in your busy, kind of like schedule to fit us in and having these experiences shared with us. I really appreciate your time and you joining us and the whole engine program. So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. So this is the end of the HKBU Starbright podcast multi-broadcasting episode. You guys know where to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our websites. I will post all the links about Engine in our description as well. Thank you for listening to us, and we're hoping to connect with you again on our next episodes. And take care of yourself. Goodbye.